You are listening to INTERFORM Podcast with Ro on the radio. You're going to want to hear this.
Welcome to INTERFORM Podcast. This is a special episode we recorded live during our model workshop. So if you missed it, this is the episode for you. We're going to be talking about tips and all kinds of advice from people in the modeling and fashion industry. Enjoy. I'm Ro Bailey. I'm going to be the moderator, and I want to introduce you guys to the panelists because I want everybody to know that you're in good hands and the information that you're getting is from actual people who have experience, okay? So we're going to start off with Dana Smith. Dana is a former model. She has 16 years of experience. She was previously signed with Directions USA, Campbell Agency, and I need everybody to give her flowers. Ford Models. It is not a game. It is not a game. She is a photography. She's been a photography producer for 25 years, and she is the operations and studio manager at Accenture Song, FKA, formerly known as Creative Drive. And everybody, this is Dana Smith.
Woo! Nice to meet you.
Next we have Kathleen Gonzalez. She began modeling at the age of 12. She started print at the age of 14. She modeled for NWA Fashion Week back in 2012. That was back in the day when it was like sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. I remember that. She's currently featured in ads in Walmart, and she is the director of modeling here at INTERFORM. So everybody give Kathleen a round of applause. And we have my guy, Zack Ridenoure. Zack has been a fashion show manager and stylist for 13 years. New York Fashion Week men's for 2 seasons. That's a huge deal. On-figure and product stylist for 15 years. E-commerce lookbooks, editorial ad campaigns, retail visual merchandising. And he's been an art director and creative director for over 5 years. So everybody give Zack a round of applause. Last but not least, it's me, Ro. Now I gotta read because I gotta remember what I did, and I'm old, y'all. So I do have over 20 years of professional modeling experience. My modeling agencies include SMG, which is Seattle Models Guild in Washington State. NCK Talent Management here in Arkansas, FIA, Faces in Arkansas, Elkins Agency, Scope Agency, and I'm currently with Stage 28 Talent and Casting. All right.
May I just interject to say that she has also been featured in commercials and at Walmart and Sam's. So she is like the OG. So
well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very proud.
I appreciate that. All right, so basically we want you to know that we're holding this workshop so that we can help provide more guidance because I know a lot of people, I get a lot of DMs, I'm sure you guys get messages all the time, like how do I become a model, how do I start, blah, blah, blah. So we want to make sure we answer those questions for you and give you a little bit of support. So the first question I have, and it's for everybody on the panel, tell us how you started in the modeling and fashion industry. I'll start with you, Dana.
Actually, at an event just like this.
Really?
I was in college in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and there was a radio commercial for have you ever wanted to model? Do commercials. And then also, I was at school at the University Wisconsin Green Bay, and they had something in the student center, same flyer. So my roommate wanted to go. I didn't. I went with her, and here I am.
That's awesome. Kathleen, how did you start? You were really young.
I was very young.
Okay.
I was shopping at a mall called Del Amo Mall in California. And I was with my mother and this gentleman, and I'll never forget him. He was really tall, really thin. He had a suit and a bow tie and glasses, and he just went up to me and he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you a model?" And I'm like 12. I'm like, no. And he said, "Would you like to be one?" And
Where
I was
your
like,
parents at?
My mother's standing right over me like, she's just like, the mama bear. And he's like, "Would you like to be one?" And I was like, "Sure, like I'm 12, sure, it sounds fun." He took me up to the managers, because we were in the mall, he took me up to see his manager and pretty much got me signed for a fashion show that day.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Zach, you are on the other side of the fashion industry, styling. What made you want to get involved with that?
I've always really been into creative processes with clothing. At one time, I thought I wanted to be a designer. I, at that time, did not have the patience for that, so I was like, forget you. But also, whenever I was a little boy, I would play with like Barbies, but because I could dress them up in different clothing, and it always was like super exciting for me. And so in college, at first I wanted to be an art major, but at a certain point I turned from that and started going for apparel studies, and that's whenever I first started my first retail job at Mason's in Fayetteville, and that's really where like my love for clothes started and styling. And then as I progressed after college into my career, I got a lot of opportunities to do fashion shows, work with models, like doing prints and catalogs and on runway and different things like that. And every job that I've had going forward has been kind of every aspect of that, with like casting, art directing, styling, all that fun stuff.
Well, this is a personal question. Like, I've seen some of your photo shoots that you've had in the past, like where you're actually in it. What made you not want to be a model? Because you could definitely be a model.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I think my journey has always kept me behind the camera because for a very long time I was insecure about myself, and I didn't have the confidence to be in front or put myself out there. And it's only honestly been probably the last 5 years that I feel the most confident and able to do stuff like that. But I think I'm too old for the industry now.
No, we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely.
Now, for me, how I got started into modeling, I had been told that I just should model my whole life because I'm tall and I was skinny. And I was like, I don't want to wear dresses and makeup. Like, I was a huge tomboy, and I had 3 brothers. Like, femininity didn't really come that easily to me, and that's what I thought was associated with modeling. And then an agent actually approached my mother, and because she had seen some pictures, like they shared pictures at work or whatever of their kids, and she was like, your daughter should model. And my mom asked me to, and I was like, no. And she said, well, you could be paid for this. And I was like, go on. So after I got my first paycheck, I was like, you know what? I might could give this a try, you know what I mean? And so after that it just became something that I was interested in, because it challenged me to step outside of my comfort zone on a major level, because I was not comfortable wearing dresses. So what is the first step to breaking into the industry? And this question is for everybody as well. Like, what was the first step?
I think just knowing that it's a reputable agency that you're
Boom.
dealing with, being comfortable at an event that isn't someone just trying to
Scam you?
Yeah, you will never ever have to pay a lot of money up front. That's your first red flag. So just knowing you're with a reputable person or somebody that look them up online, check out Better Business. Now it's a lot different than when I started.
Same.
We didn't have social media. I didn't even have a cell phone. But that would be the number one. Don't give money, and just make sure that they are an actual business with a phone number and a website. And if you can find out anybody else who's with them or knows anything about them, do your research.
Absolutely. Did you start off by building your portfolio? Did you take pictures? Like, once you, let's say, once you decide that this is a reputable agency, or what if you haven't found an agency yet and you're just trying to, just kind of break in and just try modeling out, what would you say would be the first step?
I think this day and age, have some pictures taken, even if, everybody's phones even are high quality now. It doesn't have to cost a lot. You can find somebody, there's a lot of people I've seen on a lot of the local pages, and that $100 you could probably get a nice variety of things. that's probably the first, just to have them to load, keep up a web page, just for a professional standpoint, and to have something to hand out when you do go to these events, or a lot of local agencies have casting every third Monday, or, just to have something to bring in with you to show that you're serious and that you've, done a little research, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to start. The Wisconsin, when I very first started, it was very small, and it was just kind of a couple local stores that were in town. But once I moved to Atlanta, then I tested, and it's different with the different markets, and obviously that was a lifetime ago, so things were a little bit different too. Yeah. But that would be my first step advice.
Same as you. I mean, really, honestly, like, it was very different when I was growing up. So there was no social media, and I had to do research by talking to other models. My parents did research. They spoke to even lawyers just to ensure validity, but also it was a lot of just being there in person. So when I was with an agency, I actually physically was in their office, so you could just see that they had representation. Yes, I didn't put money forward. However, I did spend on a portfolio. And I did spend on having a comp card and everything. However, today, thanks to social media, I would definitely recommend having a mentor that already has that in their industry, already has that experience, so that you can go to this mentor and say, hey, is this okay? Like, how does this look? Does this seem fishy? Like, is this legit? What do you think? So that would be my biggest advice now.
Zach, as a stylist, like, if I want to be a stylist and I want to actually call myself a stylist, what do I need to do? I can't just say that I put clothes on my son and call myself a stylist. Like, what are the steps that if someone is interested in being a stylist on, for a shoot, what should they do?
I think, to be honest, a lot for me was opportunity based. I was given the chance, as an intern. My internship in college, I was able to actually style some of the male models that were in our catalog, because my boss just didn't want to do it, which was awesome for me. And that also helped build my portfolio, because the images that were in the catalog I could use because I actually did the work for that. But also, before I got that opportunity, I actually would just get some of my friends, put looks together, and then take photographs of them to show my eye. It doesn't have to cost anything. If you know people who just want to have a really fun and cool afternoon of taking photos and dressing up and doing their own hair and makeup. And I know a lot of people in this area, and some of you in the audience, you've already worked with photographers, or people who want to get into photography or styling or modeling. And if you're all trying to build your portfolio, just get together and start taking photos, because if you have that already and your eye is really good and you can do things that show your talent, that's the first step, is just actually doing it. And then if somebody with the right opportunity gets to see what you've done, then they could probably further that for you.
Yeah, it sounds like you really have to create your own opportunities.
Yeah.
I will say the way I got into the fashion industry was by creating my own opportunities. I made a lot of mistakes, so I was the first agency that I was with, I would just not take pictures. I'd just all right, well, I guess they'll call me when they need me. I wasn't updating my portfolio. I wasn't updating my measurements. And I was just kind of sitting on my hands. And so what they don't tell you is with an agency, yes, they will get bookings for you, but you still got to take pictures. You know what I mean? You still have to practice and create opportunities. So just like what Zach's saying, even with styling or with modeling, you still have to be active in your craft or whatever you want to do. So sitting on your hands like me is a terrible idea. So getting out and meeting people, that's how I got into the industry, asking a lot of questions and not taking things for face value, because everybody ain't who they say they are. Yeah. And there's some really creepy people out there that prey on aspiring models and new models. And so once they hear you say, I want to be a model, then that's their cue to prey on you, to be perfectly honest with you. So the way I feel like the way I broke into it was by saying, let me ask around, like, is old boy cool or is he weird? Like, just to be honest with you. So I would say, from me, just ask a lot of questions. Don't take anything that people say like as, the Bible. We in the chapel. But make sure you get a second opinion on that.
I also want to
Yeah.
add, once you kind of start moving into working with people who are in the industry, they usually will steer you in the proper direction because they've worked with people already and they know people's reputations. They know how they work. They know if they're like good people, and they will give you that advice. And don't be afraid to actually be like, hey, I think I may be working with this person. What's your take? And they'll be like, oh, no, I'll set you up with someone else. Or, yeah, they're great. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the great thing about, like we talk about social media because a lot of us are a lot older than y'all. So in this age of social media, what you can do now as a model or a stylist is if you see a photographer that you want to work with, like go ahead and get in the likes, or they usually tag the model, they're supposed to. Like go in the model's DMs and be like, hey, I saw that you shot with so-and-so, like, is he okay? Is he or she? Because she's can be weird too. And just kind of, just do your background, like do a background check on him and just ask about it. It's a lot easier now than it was before. The next question is, how do you network within the modeling agency to like start your career? Like, what's the best way that people can network?
Obviously, coming to these things, meeting other people who do already model. Maybe your grandma's neighbor knows somebody who works at it's just, with everything, it comes down to who you know and a lot of luck, just meeting the right person. It is hard if you know nothing and know nobody. Just put yourself out there, do research. Social media is crazy, so you can find pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But also, if you're going to reach out to people blindly too, preface it with that. You don't want to be creepy either, sliding in someone's DMs.
Yeah. Sorry, but I don't know.
So it's just, it is a very professional, and you want to keep it that way, so that line doesn't get blurred of what you might be reaching out for. So.
Absolutely.
So, also, just to piggyback off that, definitely be intentional. Because when people see that you have an intentionality of being serious, they really respond to that, So again, I'm gonna just kind of circle back and say, find a mentor. If you look up to someone and that person seems cool and you reach out to them, just kind of like what Ro was saying, slip into their DMs and say, hey, listen, I know you're doing this. I've seen you do this and that. Would you mind just guiding me and just telling me what direction to go, and just maybe aligning with, finding somebody that aligns with your values. So if I am right now, like let's just say I'm back to being 14 years old and I want to find someone because I want to do runway, for example, I'm probably not going to DM someone who does bathing suit ads. I'm probably going to want to find a mentor that does runway, for example, because they align with what I want to do. So that would be a good way to go as well.
I will say too, for myself, every opportunity that I've had has come from someone that I met in a previous opportunity. And the way that I conduct myself whenever I am doing a job, the personality that I have, those are things that bring you to mind whenever someone is thinking of, who can I give this opportunity to? So always put your best face forward, always be professional and be on time, always have really great communication, because if someone can't get a hold of you, then they're probably not going to try to reach out to you, and they're not going to see you as dependable or reliable. And if they're recommending you for an opportunity or wanting to give you an opportunity, those things really, really matter. Because you are a reflection of their judgment. And if you're not a good reflection of that, then that affects how people see them in the industry as well. And you always want to make sure that you're not burning any bridges or kind of taking someone's credibility away.
I would say, as far as the networking goes, once you do get the opportunity to network with people, you have to, it's simple, but you have to be nice. Like, it's just like what Zack is saying, you know, you have to put your best foot forward. There are a lot of people that don't, I think what people don't understand about the modeling industry is, like, it's not just good looking people. Like, it's whether or not you can show up on time. It's whether or not you know how to talk to people. It's whether or not you are humble and grateful, because there are models who get booked and they are not very kind to the designer. They're not very kind to the stylist. And they think just because they look a certain way or because they have certain measurements that they're gonna get whatever jobs that they want. And that's not the case. There are plenty, I realize there are plenty of models who are way prettier than me that don't have an overbite, you know what I'm saying? That have, you know, smaller feet, because that was a thing too. We'll talk about that later. But it's me getting the jobs because I'm a nice person. Like, it's me getting the job because I talked to their grandma at the grocery store. Like, it's me getting the job because I showed up on time. It doesn't have anything to do with me being attractive. So I think once I got that in my head, that it's not about looks, it's about how you treat people, then it just made things a lot easier. Let's see. What are best practices to continue getting booked as a model? And I think we touched on that a little bit, you know, being on time and being kind to people. Do you have anything to add to that? Anybody? She's like, me, girl.
From a producer standpoint, we have so many people show up not prepared.
Yeah.
We rely a lot on your bookers to tell you what you're shooting. We give them all that information, but we have people show up with no bras, no underwear, 3-inch neon nails. And granted, at the studio, we're very commercial. So we're shooting Sam's, Walmart. They don't want that. So post can do a lot of things, but it takes time, and time is money. So just being prepared, and it's hard if it's not something you do on a regular basis. You know, having 3-inch roots, but if you know this is something you want to do and you're starting to work more, obviously editorial's a little different, lifestyles, you know, but in the very commercial aspect of what is in Northwest Arkansas, you have to be kind of conservative and just prepared, you know, have a little bag in your car, because sometimes bookings happen last minute, and we get it. But have a little duffel bag with, you know, a nude bra, some underwear, a brush. Bring a little makeup bag. You know, there's just a little goes a long way. And one time things happen, you know, we look over that. But when the same person shows up all the time with the same issues, then I don't book them anymore. Yeah. So that would be my big key.
That was juicy.
Wow. Yes. So, I mean, I just want to throw this out there. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone can be a model. And just kind of to what Dana was saying, I mean, I think bringing professionalism, authenticity, and thoughtfulness. But really, 1% of modeling is about being pretty. 99% is about how you make people feel when you're around them. So just remember that as well, Ro. You touched on this. Everyone's beautiful, everyone's pretty, you're all talented, but how do you make people feel, and what's your thoughtfulness behind it?
Yeah, I can probably speak into this in a few different areas. Whenever I was working for Fashion Week, for Men's Fashion Week in New York, there was this guy that came in, and he was just super rude. And whenever we did our casting the next season, he came in to do fittings to, you know, we did all of our fittings up front, and then we chose from the fittings who would be best for the looks. And we didn't pick him because he was just like really arrogant and acted like, you know, like we were wasting his time. And it was He fit the clothing perfectly without any alterations or anything, but it was just the attitude. We were like, no, we don't want that. And then I will say too, in terms of like local INTERFORM stuff that we do, it's really best to read your emails and to read them fully so you know what you have to bring with you and how to like come prepared to work, because I mean it's a job and you have to be there and be ready. Otherwise, like Dana said, you're taking up time, and time is money, and like everything can be quantified by a dollar amount. And if you are wasting money, then you will probably be overlooked for someone who is not wasting money the next time. So that's something to keep in mind.
That's real. Y'all better read y'all's emails. I would say the best practices in my experience would be to be versatile. I was, when I first went natural, which means I stopped using chemical relaxers to straighten my hair, I was very adamant about, modeling agencies are just gonna have to pick me for who I am, or I'm just not gonna do it, right? And to a certain extent, that's okay for you to be confident, but at the same time, if you wanna get more bookings, you have to have more than one look. So I'll wear a wig, I'll wear, a long wig, a short wig, or whatever, because they could either book somebody else with the same hairstyle that they want, or they can book me. I'd rather them book me. So you just have to remain versatile and open-minded and know that it's not an insult to you that they didn't pick you because of your hair. It's not that they, and I can't speak for all agencies, but the agencies that I work with, it's not because they don't like Black people's natural hair. It's because this particular look for this commercial client, they want a different kind of hair. And sometimes that's okay. Like you have to, obviously, know when it's racial and when it's not. But when it comes to commercials and lifestyle photo shoots, sometimes a different hairstyle is best. So if you're willing to have a versatile look in your portfolio, it's gonna get you more bookings. Just don't take it personal. And I have to tell myself that all the time, because I take everything personal. But I've learned that in the modeling industry, it's not personal. So
yeah, to that, I think too, like you can't, like showing versatility in your portfolio is great, because then the client can see if you can actually fit into the product that they are trying to sell. Because what they're trying to do is show a specific audience who they're trying to engage in buying the product that they are selling. And so if I'm trying to sell like frying pans, for example, am I going to want someone who looks like super glamorous, like Diana Ross trying to sell them? Or am I gonna try to get somebody who looks more like a mother in the Midwest? Right. If you're only showing the glamour in your portfolio, you're probably not going to get commercial jobs. And if you're only showing commercial, you're probably not going to get the glamorous jobs. But if you can show a wide range of looks in your portfolio, then it gives them the ability to kind of just put you into those different roles and different looks, and it gives you more opportunities. So, yeah.
That's good. That was one of the many mistakes I made at the beginning. When I started modeling, is just like, I wanted all America's Next Top Model, fan blowing shoots with heels. To be honest with you, sometimes you got to tone that down. You got to tone down the sex. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. There's a lot of portfolios that I've been seeing, like when people reach out to me, and it's all, grown up, sexy pictures. And that's cool if that's what you want to do, but you can't expect to book a Sam's Club gig or a Walmart gig that is paying if all you have are, sexy, glamorous photos. So you have to make sure that you show a little bit more range in your portfolio. Yeah. Dana, were you going to say something?
Absolutely. I would say in the last year, a lot of the new books that we get sent, or there's not one smiling picture. And I will not, I have been burned so much over the years, I will not even entertain booking somebody that out of 20 pictures in their book, they're not smiling in one. Because either your teeth are jacked and you're hiding something, or you just aren't coming off approachable. And in commercial, you have to do that. It's actually harder, I think, to look natural and that cheery Midwest housewife or girl next door. Anyone can throw on a smoky eye and look sexy. Although that wasn't my thing either. That's really hard for me. I was more of the girl next door. But that is my number one. I will absolutely not even, I don't even have them come in for a fitting, nothing. So that would be a big tip.
I will say too, to that is kind of knowing also what your look conveys. I have a friend who, he honestly looks kind of like Clark Kent. He has like black hair. It's very coiffed. He's a square jaw. No, he's married with 2 kids. But
y'all don't judge me.
But he is a very commercial model. He does like fitness shoots. He does suits. He does like whenever he lived in Dallas, he did a bunch for like JCPenney's and Dillard's. And like Men's Warehouse and different stuff like that. I still go around. The funny thing for me is like I'll see people that I know in these ads, and then I'll take a photo and send it. Be like, hey, look who I just saw. But you see those, and he knows 100% that his look is commercial. It's not going to be a high fashion look, but he has also been able to segue into doing other things. He was in a like video segment with Betty White one time, and because of his muscles, he was just wearing an apron, and like they had like a really funny exchange. But yeah, like even if kind of knowing your identity as a model, and kind of the breadth of if you can go versatile or not. If you don't feel like you can, then kind of lean into the one. If you know that you can be versatile, then show them all, But I also think that comes with years of experience and kind of building your brand as a model, and kind of showing who you are in that way as well. So
absolutely. Last thing, and I'll move on to the next one because this is a good question. Versatility goes like beyond modeling as well, right? So sharpen up some other skills that you think may be useful, because I have some background in radio, so some public speaking, that kind of thing. So I don't just get booked to just stand there and take pictures. I might get booked to say something on a commercial, or I might get booked I got booked for a Tyson training video, like things like that. It still pays. So you can widen your skill set to be available for more things, and just kind of make that impact as far as like just sharpen your skills. Maybe you like something different. Maybe you like cooking, and you might be able to cook something on a commercial. Like, who knows? Just sharpen other skills other than modeling.
I also think with that, it would probably be a good idea to say yes to almost all opportunities if they come and they don't necessarily look like what you want it to be, because just having that, like building that credibility and that portfolio and that reputation of doing a job and doing a job well, that goes so far. Yes, it does.
I did women's diapers. I ain't gonna. Listen, I don't wear women's diapers, but $400 is $400.
Okay.
All right.
Do they have men's diapers that I can
right?
$400 is good.
You hear me? This is a good question, and you touched on this a little bit, Dana. How do I know if a modeling agency is real? Ciao. Go ahead.
Website, People, Better Business Bureau.
BBB.
Now you can Google anything and find out. And then again, looking up to people who look on their website, look on their Facebook page, and see people that are friends, or maybe they're posting work of them. Reach out to them and find out. are you really with this agency? How are they? How do they communicate? Do they pay you on time? All sorts of things.
That's good.
So last month, one of our models reached out to me and said, "Hey, Kathleen, an agency reached out to me. Let me send you the email." And she just like copy pasted the email, and I read it. And the first thing I noticed, and this will be the first thing, they didn't address her by her name. So it wasn't like, "Hello, Miss XYZ." It was just like, "Hi, we are looking for a model. We have noticed you, blah, 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 blah," right? So it was just, there was a lot of misspelling. There was a lot of run-on sentences. Like the whole grammar was off, and that was like my first red flag. But I would suggest to you, when somebody emails you, when somebody reaches out to you, are they calling you by your name? Are they saying, "Hey, Rochelle, I've noticed you. Like, are you available to talk? I'm very interested in you." Or is it just like, "Hi, I noticed you. I want to talk to you. I want you here. I want you there. Oh, by the way, this is a fee to enter our agency." And then there was a link to the email, and I clicked on the link, and it was like it was kind of like a disclaimer. And one of the disclaimers was, "Don't ask questions." And I was like, "Nope." Exactly. Yeah. I was like, I emailed her. And listen, they had a legit Instagram, a legitimate Instagram, and I followed one of the people that was vlogging on their Instagram pages, and I went to her Instagram page, and she was like actually vlogging about like, "Oh, I'm going to this casting from this agency." But what she failed to say was that she had to pay a fee to go on this casting call, which is ludicrous. So right there, I was like, listen, I know you want to believe, but this is not right unless you want to pay. So for me, it was more like they're a business. They're not an agency. They're just a business, and there's a lot of them out there. And there's a lot of little things that you can look at, like, are they addressing you by their name? Is it really for you, or is it just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste to all these other people? So I mean, and with that in mind, please look, again, for someone who has the experience that you can knock on their door and say, "Hey, what do you think? Does this give you a red flag?" I've had other models come to me, male models, who are over the age of 21, and they're like, "Hey, this person in New York is interested." I Googled their address, and it was an apartment. And I was like, nope. I mean, don't be afraid to reach out to a lawyer, too, if you have a family lawyer, and just say, "Hey, lawyer friend, can you look into this?" And trust me, they will. So just ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. And don't be afraid to reach out to someone. Don't be afraid to Google. Don't be afraid to reach out to their social media and reaching out to somebody in their social media, because if they're legit, you'll know. And if they're not, if you have any kind of red flag inside of you, just go with that.
I will say on the social media part, anybody can make a social media.
Yes.
So I would suggest not only going by their social media. Some pages can look legit, and maybe they are, but I wouldn't use that as your sole way of finding out whether somebody is legitimate. Zach?
To be honest, I'm always a little wary of if people are coming at you with an opportunity because they're looking to get something rather than, it's like, I don't know. It's a little sketch to me. In my experience, it's best to go with the ones that are more reputable that you know of, and not something that you have to like question.
Mm-hmm. And if they're asking you for money before they're asking you for your portfolio, that would probably be like, a red flag. And then it's like, well, how'd you find me? Like, how'd you get my email? Stuff like that. I will say what I've noticed on Instagram, like let's say you post a picture and then you use hashtags like model or, aspiring model, things like that. The weirdos follow those hashtags. So that's how they're going to reach out to you and find you. I'm not saying don't use those hashtags. I'm just saying be aware that if you use those, that is the kind of attention that you're probably going to get.
I will add to that, and I'm sorry, Ro. I just will add to that. Ro and I have done Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week for many years now, so a lot of people use us as they use us as a resource. Like, "Hey, Ro, hey, Kathleen, what do you think of this?" We become mama bears, and the thing that I've noticed is the more questions, if they're not real, the more questions you ask and they get upset or frustrated, leave them, say goodbye. A good agency will have their representation to back any question you have. So that is, Ro said it earlier, ask questions, ask those questions, and definitely don't be afraid to say, I have someone representing me too, or I have someone that's mentoring me. So it's almost like you kind of want to not scare them, but you want to let people know you're not alone in this, and you know you have a foundation.
I don't mind scaring them, but I will say if you do get the opportunity to get with an agency or be listed with an agency, if someone reaches out to you with an opportunity, be like, oh, cool. Well, here's my agent's contact number. Just reach out to her and she can get everything set up. 9 times out of 10, if they're not legit, you'll touch back with your agent and be like, yeah, did so and so reach out to you? And they'll be like, no, they didn't. So that's something to keep in mind. Zach, this question is specifically for you. What exactly is a stylist and an art director? Like I said, you can't just like put some clothes on people, right?
So we'll start with the art director first. An art director is someone who conceptualizes and puts together the theme and the idea behind a photo shoot or an event. A creative director is someone who executes that vision. And then a stylist is someone who is brought in under the creative director, along with hairstylist, makeup artist, and photographer to execute the vision.
Okay. Shoot, I just learned something there.
There you go.
How do you build a portfolio? Like, I think we touched on this a little bit. Make sure it's diverse. Maybe call some of your friends. Like, I know somebody that takes some pictures, and even if they don't, you can take them on your phone. But it's about creating diversity, and it's about making sure that your pictures match what you're trying to do. So more than likely, if you're in Northwest Arkansas, you putting like high fashion photos in your portfolio, I don't know. It may be good, it may be not, but you can add some diversity to that. Dana, what would you say?
Also, any past work that is relevant, so that they can see you are a working model and that you have worked for, they used to have flyers and, you don't want to, if you got you're one of 4 people and, it's something crazy, you'll know if it's right to use or not.
Right.
But if you get a nice tag with a shacket, that Ro just did,
It's a shirt and a jacket, just so you know.
There's certain things, if it ends up to be a nice, styled and, shows your range of, what you've done in the past. If you're lucky enough to get a cover, an ad, anything that is relevant to where you want to go or your local area. Definitely try to use that in your book. Not just, anybody can go to a photographer and look fabulous. But if you're given a shacket and you can make it look good, then you know you got something.
There it is. Kathleen, how would you add to that as far as building your portfolio?
Raw. Give them raw. Give them who you are. They want to see you. They just want to see you. I would say go as natural as possible. To what you were saying, Dana, like they don't want to see, an agency doesn't want to see like you all made up as beautiful as you are. They want to see the raw you, the real you, as natural makeup as you can. If my hair is naturally like straight, so straight hair, whatever my natural hair is. Fitted clothes, so like a tank top and jeans, something that accentuates or shows what your body figure looks like. And it's always a good idea to have like a full body, a half body, and a face. But yeah, definitely. And Ro, you touched on this diversity. If you're a ballerina and you can do a ballerina dance, like definitely use that in your portfolio. If you're a swimmer, maybe mention that. If you're, a chef, if you're a designer, something that also speaks to what diversity you do. But definitely raw.
Zach, as far as like having a stylist portfolio or creative director portfolio, what would you suggest that people do?
The thing to remember is that your portfolio is a visual resume. So depending on what job you are going for, curate your resume for that. So if you're going for like a stylist, you put all of the photos of the photo shoots or the ads or the campaigns that you styled, and you show the versatility between commercial, high fashion, fitness, all of the things. If you're going up for, if you're modeling and you want to go for a commercial, you put more commercial in your portfolio before you send it. If you are going for something that's more high fashion, you do that. And just be aware of what the opportunity is before you send, that way that you can, again, put your best face forward.
Absolutely. Next question is about measurements. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the mistakes I used to make when I would go on casting calls and they would ask me what my measurements are. I would say, well, I wear like a size 8 in jeans and I got like a 34B bra or something. That's not what they mean. They need actual measurements. And so what I want to ask you, the panel, is what is the best way to get the most accurate measurements and why are they super important? And I'll start at the end this time. I'll start with you, Zach.
Your measurements are the most current representation of the size of your body. And if you're supposed to be modeling clothing, whether it's for a designer or like a national commercial brand, whatever it is, the booker and the client need to know that whenever the product is on you, that you're going to be able to represent them as best as possible. So if you show up and you've said that your measurements are one thing and they're actually something else, it's either going to be too big for you or going to be too small, and then their product isn't going to look the way that they want it to on a human body, and they're not going to be pleased because you're wasting time and wasting money, and you probably won't be asked to come back as well.
I would also add to that and say, I know a lot of people, like, when you do your measurements, it's uncomfortable, right? And you do have to have current measurements. So like every month, maybe every 3 months, like make sure your measurements are current. Don't be so ashamed or fear that you're not going to get booked because of your measurements, because it'll be 10 times worse if you get there and the measurements don't match. So you're gonna have to swallow that and just be completely honest and make sure you get the correct measurements. And what would you add to that?
I mean, honestly, I've actually been asked to leave for a fashion show once, and this is something. So I actually moved to Mexico when I was young. I was like 13, 14, and I started modeling in Mexico, and those measurements are different. So when they asked me for their measurements, I didn't know how to. So they don't use inches; they use like centímetros, and I was like giving them the wrong measurements. And I went to a fashion show, and it didn't fit me. And they were just like, thank you very much. Have a great day. There's the door. And I was asked to leave. So it's very serious. I would definitely say go to a tailor. Ask them to professionally take your measurements every, month?
I don't know.
2 months?
I would say 3 months.
Okay,
maybe
3
every
months?
month
Yeah.
is extreme.
Yes.
I mean, unless it's December
I mean,
and
if-
November. Because baby, the
What kind
cookies.
of the year is it? Yes, but
Yeah.
definitely I would say go to a professional, someone who knows how to take a measurement. So
What would you say, Dana?
I think measurements are more important than your actual size. As anyone knows, you can order a large from 3 different companies online, and you can get something that's child size and something you're drowning in. So, and a lot of times samples are not production quality. So it's something they churned out really quick to kind of meet the specs of what it's supposed to be. But if we know, this particular sweatshirt is wider than what it will be, we just need to know someone has broader shoulders or a long torso. There's just a lot of things that go into it when you're not working with an actual production sample. So it's something that's quick and made, and we need to know that you're going to fit it enough so that our stylists can alter it on set to make it fit. But we need, a good model to make it work so that we know, that it will look kind of what it's supposed to look like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, think of your sizes as like another skill or like something that you would put on your resume. If you don't know how to use Photoshop, you wouldn't put that on your resume. Because if you did and then you show up to work and you don't know how to use Photoshop, you're going to get fired. So if you put incorrect information on your resume, whether it be a skill set or a measurement, it's the same thing. So it doesn't come down to vanity whenever you're talking about that, and like actually being able to like get jobs because of it, because they need to know the best person to place on set for their product.
Absolutely. And I want to empathize with you, because I know that sometimes you fear that if I'm smaller, then maybe I'll get this gig, and I really want it. Like, I understand that. I just want everybody to understand that it will be 10 times worse if they know that those measurements aren't correct. So just kind of, keep that in mind. Thanks for listening to INTERFORM Podcast. To find out more about INTERFORM, you can go to interform.art. Find us on Instagram. It's also interform.art, or Facebook at INTERFORM Fashion.
You are listening to INTERFORM Podcast with Ro on the radio. You're going to want to hear this.